Thank you. I'm pleased to do so. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to come to this forum. After listening to all of your Board of Commissioner candidates, I'm sure that Emmett County will be in good shape going into the future. They certainly address most of the concerns that have motivated me for a long life in public service. And being here at an educational institution, it's remarkable to me. The older I get, the tighter the circles become. And I'm remembering my time in high school, back there when the topic of discussion, I'm looking for the high school students, I don't see them right now. The big topic of discussion then was the brand new shaping up Michigan Constitution, the Constitution that was brought to being in 1963. And that Constitution and I have become older together. Notice I stopped short, older is good enough. What I do tell people is I will be 72 years old when I'm sworn in to be your 37th District Senator, and will be proud to become that person. My family has been in Antrim County for almost 150 years. I don't quite have that voyageur arrival on the shore, but my great-grandfather did arrive when the only road in Antrim County was made of iron, and there were trees everywhere else. He was a timber cruiser and spent his life doing good work for the railroad and then the iron companies. And I'm proud of that heritage and proud to live in a state of Michigan that has recovered from those times so remarkably to be the paradise that we all enjoy. I say, I wake up every morning 30 feet from where my father was born and his father before him. And I will be pleased to become your senator for this 37th district.
Thank you, Jim. Now let's meet his opponent in the primary, our current state senator, Wayne Schmidt. And Wayne, you also have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Certainly is a beautiful night, and thank you, Carlin, the Petoskey and Harbor Springs Chambers, for hosting this event, the Petoskey News Review, the Petoskey High School students that are here, the Emmett Association of Realtors, and President Finley and North Central Michigan College. And most importantly, thank you for all being here tonight. It is a beautiful, pure Michigan evening. It's been a privilege to serve you in Lansing as your state senator for the last 3.5 years. I'm running for re-election because I believe I've given you accountable leadership and with proven results. 8 balanced budgets, an increase in our credit rating, an increase in our rainy day fund. Also, 2x funding increases for our K-12, the largest funding increases for public schools in more than a decade. With more than 300 coffee hours throughout northern lower Michigan and eastern upper peninsula, and if you see my truck, it's getting a little rusty, 375,000 miles on it now, I've been listening to what you, the folks here in northern Michigan and the upper peninsula, have to say. I'll continue to listen. I'll continue to advocate for Emmett County, for northern lower Michigan and the eastern upper peninsula. And I ask for your continued support, please, and for your vote this Tuesday, August 7th. Thank you.
Now let's meet the candidates for the 100th State House seat. We'll go alphabetical here to start with the GOP candidate, and that's our state representative, Lee Chatfield.
Well, first off, thank all of you for being here, and thank you for being our host this evening. The expression is that the world changes for those who show up, and I commend all of you for being here tonight on a beautiful, pure Michigan evening. Now, 4 years ago, the district gave me a unique opportunity in Lansing and blessed me with the privilege of representing all of you. And I've done that for the past several years, and I'm looking for an opportunity to continue doing that. Now, I consider it an honor and a privilege to represent all of you for 2 main reasons. Number one, Northern Michigan is my home. I was born and raised here, and God has blessed me with the opportunity to raise my 5 children here as well. And number two, it's an honor fighting for our shared values in Lansing. And in politics, you're never always going to agree on everything. But what I told you 4 years ago was that I would be accessible, I would work hard, and I would be honest. And I've kept those promises, and I'm going to continue trying to do everything I can to improve our state. And if there's anything I can do that's constitutional, and is also going to improve the lives of those that live in northern Michigan, my hometown, I'm going to fight for every single day. And for many of us, as we look around the state of Michigan, especially over the last 8 years, it's come a long way. Unemployment is down, workforce participation is up, and the economy is booming. What that means for us is that Northern Michigan is thriving. We've done a lot over the past several years, but there's still a lot more we can do, and I hope to have your vote on August 7th. Thank you for being here. I look forward to this forum.
On the Democratic ticket for the 107th State House is Joanne Galloway. So let's all meet Joanne.
Good evening, I'm Joanne Galloway. Can you hear me okay? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I'm Joanne Galloway. I'm a farmer from Pickford, about a half hour north of the Mackinac Bridge. I'm a wife of 30 years. My husband Gary just happily replaced a shaft in the hay bine this afternoon and is ready to get back to the hayfield. I'm a mother of 3 very successful and highly motivated young adults. My oldest daughter graduated from Brown University. Our middle daughter graduated from Wellesley College. And our son, who's 20, is a very proud entrepreneur based out of Lansing. My husband and I made the decision to take over my family farm in 1999 after my father was diagnosed with multiple myeloma and was flat on the couch in pain and was trying to run a farm just as we are running today. One of the reasons that we were so interested in taking over the family farm and moving to the Upper Peninsula is what we saw in that community. Our kids at that time were 5, 3, and 1. And that community in Pickford came together that summer when my dad couldn't run the farm, and they ran the farm. There was one neighbor woman who came every single morning before she went to work and did the morning chores. And another gentleman came every night and did the evening chores. And then all of the farmers got together in July, which is make hay while the sun shines. And they were all trying to make hay, but they came and made my dad's hay. They cut it all, they raked it all, they baled it all, they got it all put in the barn for him. So in September of 1999, my husband and I took over the farm. Since then, we've continued to grow and make the farm a more successful operation. We've raised our children there in Pickford. 2 of them graduated from the Rudyard Public Schools and 1 from Pickford Public Schools. Each of our daughters were valedictorians of their class. And it's at that point in my life where the kids are gone from home, we've started to scale back the farm a little bit. I've looked around the state of Michigan and said, wait, don't we care about the people here anymore? I understand corporate profits are important. I run a farm, I run a small business. We need to make a profit. But when we start putting those profits over people, it's time to start taking another look. Thank you.
So we'll now move into the question portion, and this time you have 90 seconds to answer the questions, 90 seconds. And again, Gene will give you the 15-minute heads up at the appropriate time. Let's stick with our order of doing Senate first and then House second. And this time, Mr. Gurr, you get to go first. And the question will come from Mr. Huber.
All right, thank you, Carl. First hardball question of the evening. As you've been talking to constituents during your campaign, what do you see as the most important issues facing voters in Northern Michigan?
Without a doubt, the most important issue that people bring to my attention is the high cost of living, largely described as the high cost of gasoline. It's going to stay around $3 a gallon. It's going to be there forever. The truth of the matter is, we all know that we needed better roads, but the people that I talked to, they were worried about front-end alignments and broken tires and all the rest of that, but the thing that motivates them the most is wondering whether or not they'll have enough fuel to get back to work tomorrow morning. And, for me, that's without a doubt the issue that is most brought to my attention.
And now Mr. Schmidt, same question, and if you need the question repeated, we're happy to do that. I say we, I mean Bill.
No, I hear you, Matt. The 3 things I hear most about are education funding, which I highlighted. We have the largest K-12 budget in history in the state of Michigan with one of the largest increases in the last decade. I hear about the high cost of fixing our roads, and we have dealt with that. We saw the problem. We did a $1.2 billion road package in 2015. In addition to that, we did $475 million in additional funding. That here in Emmett County alone means this year and next year, an additional $2.3 million. And the third thing I heard most from people was the taxes. I have voted for, and we have seen over 20 different tax cuts here in the state of Michigan. And we're seeing the proof in that you are keeping more of your hard-earned dollars, the economy is getting stronger, we have more taxpayers here in the state of Michigan, which again allows for school funding, fixing our roads, lowering the cost of higher education. Those are the things I hear from the voters, and I will continue to listen to you and work to fix those and find solutions in Lansing.
So I forgot to swap the order, but then we'll do that next time. So Lee first, and then Joanne, and then we'll swap.
So I could echo some of the things that were said by others on this panel. I too hear about the high cost of living in northern Michigan, but without a doubt, as I've been at the doors talking to people and I've been at coffee hours with many of you, what I hear about the most, which leads to the high cost of living in northern Michigan, is the cost of our car insurance. People continually talk about that to me at their doors, and the fact is that Michigan households pay on average $1,000 more than Midwest states around us. And if you know northern Michigan, we have many people who are living on a fixed income, and we have many people who have moved up here to enjoy life, and now, with the high cost of car insurance, aren't able to spend their money. And the fact is this: northern Michigan does well when people have money in their pockets and are able to come up here and enjoy our brand of pure Michigan. The biggest issue I think that's facing our state is the high cost of car insurance. I hear about it all the time. I voted to reduce car insurance rates several months ago. The vote failed by 10 votes in the House, but we're going to get back at it in September, and we're going to do everything we can. It's something I ran on 4 years ago, and it's something I'm still running on now. We can do better for the people of Michigan.
Joanne, do you need the question repeated?
Go right ahead.
As you've been talking to constituents during your campaign, what do you see as the most important issues facing voters in northern Michigan?
2 minutes. No, 90 seconds, 90 seconds. I'll get it right.
So one of the instrumental elements of my campaign is listening sessions. And if anybody in the room would like to host one, let me know. It can be a small group of people around your dining room table or 50 people in a conference room. We've got a team that'll elegantly lead us through that, because I'm not running for me. I'm running for the people of this district. And if I don't hear from you, I don't know all what I'm running on. As I've been out and about the district, and actually what's brought me to run is people in this district don't feel like their interests are being represented. When they look at the campaign finance reports and see that there's not a single donor from this district on their representative's account for the quarter, they wonder who their representative is working for. And I'm going to Lansing to represent the people of this district and their concerns. Some of the concerns that I have heard thus far has to do with the taxation of their retirement, with their pension accounts. It has to do with the auto insurance rates. It has to do with our environment. I hear about our environment over and over and over. And people are very concerned with what's happening with the big oil companies and the risk that we are taking with our environment across this district. I've also heard a lot from people, just like Tony Dreyer said tonight, about our access to connectivity. And if we can improve the connectivity across this district, I'll get into that further, but it'll make a big difference in the lives of the people across the district. Thank you.
Okay, this time, again, we'll stick with the 37th first, but this time, Wayne, you get the first shot at this, and Claire has the question.
The cost to build single-family homes or multifamily residential units has surpassed what a traditional worker can afford to pay, leading to a shortage of what we call workforce housing in Michigan. What role do you believe the state should play, if any, to help alleviate this problem?
That is certainly, as the economy has improved here in Michigan, especially here in northern Michigan, we've seen many jobs go unfilled because of the cost of housing. And those are good, middle-class paying jobs. One of the things who I've been working with, Michigan Municipal League, the Michigan Home Builders, the Rental Association of Michigan, their interest groups, are making sure that we have the tools in place to allow municipalities to offer the type of incentives, whether it's payment in lieu of taxes, abatements, to get that workforce appropriate housing moving forward. We also need to address regulations. And while the cost of housing has gone up, it has been coupled with the fact that there are many more safety features and building code standards. I'm not saying that we should minimize safety in our new home construction, but we've certainly added a lot more layers and costs to the expense of building single-family homes. So we continue to work on those issues, and again, it's Senate Bill 110 if anyone cares to see the legislation that I'm working on, but allowing and offering those tools and making sure that municipalities have the ability to recruit developers, to offer incentives, and create that workforce appropriate housing.
Jim, do you need the question repeated or go second?
I think I've got a pretty good idea of what we're talking about. Basically, what we're talking about are your taxes. You know, it's true, affordable housing is a tremendous burden on anyone who's having to work for a living. But government-sponsored programs, payment in lieu of taxes, incentives for providing affordable housing, all of those essentially mean that you guys, the ones who are working, are going to end up paying more taxes. And I know it seems like a little bit of a stretch to say that part of the problem with affordable housing has to do with the funding of the educational system, but it's true. Proposal A removed ad valorem taxes from the property tax bill. Our poor schools, which formerly had to go to the communities and offer a rationale for why they needed the millages, no longer made that argument. And even though there was a cap put on taxes, the SEVs, assessed values, continued to rise. That natural break on those assessments was removed. And I'm sure all of you who've lived in Michigan from the time of Proposal A have seen your tax bills get to be just as big as they were when we were told that they would be removed. And the unfortunate result of that was a housing bubble. Homes were bought and sold for more than they were worth. Property tax values are through the roof, and it's part of the reason that you and I all don't have enough money. Thank you.
We'll continue with the same question for the 107th House, and if I'm keeping track correctly, Joanne, you go first this time. Would you need the question repeated?
Please.
The cost to build single-family homes or multifamily residential units has surpassed what a traditional worker can afford to pay, leading to a shortage of what we call workforce housing in Michigan. What role do you believe the state should play, if any, to help alleviate this problem?
Thank you. So I find it very interesting that we talk about the fact that our people that are working can't afford to buy up or build a house. And I think I would look at the angle of what are we paying our employees across the state. And I think we might want to think about raising that minimum wage and sending a little bit more money home with them in their paycheck so that they can actually be making a living wage and afford to live. Thank you.
So I think there's a couple different things that we can focus on at the state level, that we can reduce the cost of living in northern Michigan. Like I said, we want people to be able to move back here, people we grew up with, or maybe our children or grandchildren, to move back here and set up shop in northern Michigan. Now, I am also a believer that the majority of the time, government is not the solution. Most likely, government is the problem. So I will echo much of what Senator Schmidt said in looking at regulations. Many home builders here in northern Michigan over the past several years have told me if we reduce the red tape, if we reduce the regulations in Lansing, and that are building the homes here, they can build them at a lower cost. However, I'll also add this. I think the state of Michigan could also look at providing an incentive for younger families or simply first-time home buyers to provide a tax incentive for them to purchase a home. This is about getting people into the market. There's no reason and there's no excuse that we in northern Michigan, our homes are too expensive for people to move here. So number one, I think government, state of Michigan should get out of the way and cut regulations. And number two, let's incentivize people to purchase their first home.
So our third question will be asked by Nick, right? And well, again, I'm I'm just kind of in a groove, so we'll stick with Senate first, House second, if that's okay. And this time, Mr. Gurr, you're up first. And Nick, you have the question.
The pipeline known as Line 5 that passes beneath the Straits of Mackinac remains in the headlines. Based on your research and understanding of the pipeline, what should its future be?
Well, whatever its future is, it certainly should not be a threat. Pipeline 5 performs a vital function, both in the raw product that comes down and the finished petroleum distillates that go back up. We need it. If in its absence, the cost of home heating will become almost unaffordable. So it's going to stay. However, it does need to be safe. You know, it's talking about getting old. It's not as old as I am, but it probably needs to be replaced. I'd like to see it in a modern pipeline facility that works well. I know that there are safeguards on both ends of the thing. It doesn't give me much pause or relief to know that in an emergency it would have to be shut down, but I believe it can be. I don't think that it's going to disappear. We need it. It just needs to be a safe pipeline.
Wayne, do you need the question again, or you?
Could you please repeat it just?
Sure.
The pipeline known as Line 5 that passes beneath the Straits of Mackinac remains in the headlines. Based on your research and understanding of the pipeline, what should its future be?
It certainly is one of the most heavily watched pipelines, if not in just the state, but in the country. And with good reason. We do need to hold Enbridge accountable. That's why I called for a temporary shutdown when we had the anchor strikes that hit both transmission lines and Line 5, to make sure that everything was still in working order. I think that as we go forward, we are going to look to alternatives to Line 5. I think one of the most promising, and I support Governor Snyder and Lieutenant Governor Calley on this, is to have an underground utility corridor. So not only Line 5, but the transmission lines are protected. I think that is an engineering accomplishment that we can do, and it's one that offers security and affordability of energy to the Upper Peninsula, because we can't forget about those folks above the bridge, and offers the security and protection of the environment. So I would certainly support an underground utility corridor to allow both transmission and other fuels to go through.
Well, this is certainly an issue I have heard about for the last 3.5 years, and it's one that in the state legislature I now have bills again that I believe will maximize our authority over the pipeline. The fact is, what makes us pure Michigan is our natural resources. Those of us who were born and raised here, or those of us who maybe bought cottages up here, we did it because of our natural beauty. It is our duty to do everything we can to protect our natural resources. It's also important that we look at perhaps what the benefit of that pipeline might be, and the oil, when transported properly, can be to our district. The fact is, from Line 5 in northern Michigan, in our district, it provides 60% of the propane when the oil is refined from Line 5. However, the simple benefits it gives to us in northern Michigan should not be a blanket statement and overlooking the companies that have pipelines. We need to do everything we can to ensure these pipeline operators and these companies are held accountable. We need to make sure their reports are with the state of Michigan for our approval, and that's what my bill does. Now, moving forward, I applaud what the senator said, and Governor Snyder, his actions on this. He has talked about an underground corridor. We have to ask ourselves this: is the safest way to transport oil 60 years ago, does that remain the safest way to do it today? If there can be a safer way to do it, we need to find those options, and we need to get it done. And let's increase transparency and accountability over the corporations that have their pipeline through our straits.
Would you like the question again, Joanne?
Please.
The pipeline known as Line 5 that passes beneath the Straits of Mackinac remains in the headlines. Based on your research and understanding of the pipeline, what should its future be?
Thank you. As a farmer, the environment is very important to me. My husband and I have been protectors of the environment for the last 19 years. We don't use any pesticides nor any herbicides on our farm. As I look at the Straits of Mackinac and Line 5, and I've attended recently 2 meetings of the Straits of Mackinac Alliance. I've seen the new Line 5 Part 1 video twice now. I've talked with many of the leaders on the project. And we need to quit moving oil through the Straits of Mackinac until we take a closer look at the current line and take a look at that risk. The amount of risk that we can take of our natural resources here is zero. I have a friend sitting right here in this room tonight who lived in Marshall, Michigan on the Kalamazoo River, who smelled the smell the night before the leak, who called 911, who called the sheriff's department, who called the police department, and was told, oh, don't worry about it. Night fell. The oil kept continuing to spill in. They ignored the alarms. It wasn't until the next day when the light came again and the people who lived nearby could see what had happened. That friend just mentioned to me recently that she had noticed the last few years that she lived near Marshall, she didn't get bugs all over her car anymore. Huh. Interesting. I think we need to be very cautious.